Oh, I love this shit.
Oh, the piss clock went out.
Piss clock went out. Bunker surf shop. Fucking University of Delaware bullshit. You come here for a reason, don't you?
Roll it. Hold on. Click the piss clock one more time.
Clock. Oh my god. I'm fucking laughing and crying at the same time.
Yeah,
This is funny shit, man.
All right. Welcome back to the Volley House podcast, episode 51.
51, season 2.
Drive me nuts.
Why is your cord hanging?
I don't know. It's going to drive me nuts. Hang on a sec here. Fuck it. We're here at Kulka Studios, so if you need a firehouse built, give them a call. Kev, do you want to do this second part with Ryan?
I got to wear the Kulka hard hat one of these days.
You should, yeah.
Why not?
We got Ryan Mackey on the sticks,
Ryan,
as usual.
hold on. Ryan, I'm trying to grow a mustache, Mackey. That guy?
Be sure to give him a follow.
New year, new laughs.
At Max_visuals. That's MACKS. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com or DM us to ask us questions and send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. And also give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volley House Podcast and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify. And hit the website for merch. And
I need a cap. I gotta get some trucker caps.
Yeah, we could add those. Command fire apparatus. Need a reliable fire truck? Have a surplus fire truck to sell? At Command Fire Apparatus, they specialize in high-quality used fire trucks ready for your department. They're not brokers. They buy, refurbish, and sell directly to you. From pumpers to ladder trucks, they have what you need, and they pride themselves on delivering a truck to you that is ready to go in service. Join the many satisfied departments that trust them for their fire apparatus needs. Experience stress-free selling and buying today. Visit sellfiretrucks.com or call 866-238-6688. Your next fire truck is just a click away. Command Fire Apparatus is a firefighter-owned and managed company. What did he send? Let's see.
He's sending pictures as we go, and I'm laughing. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, we will.
It's good stuff.
Let's get into, we got a suspended or not submission. This one's fairly calm.
Suspended.
A volunteer attends a commissioner meeting and states he is speaking on behalf of himself as a taxpayer and local business owner. He asks questions and makes statements in a respectful manner. Is that grounds for suspension or not?
Negative.
Negative. Figured that. Will it ruffle some feathers?
Yep.
Yep.
Be very careful.
Yes. Job of the week.
But the fire department is always related back to you, so regardless of what you do.
True.
How you speak, it doesn't, you just have to be careful.
That is true. Job of the week. Kev caught some smoke before he got here.
I didn't catch anything. Maybe that's why I'm high right now.
Yeah, probably. Kev's on a roll right now. What did you have? Was it
Nah, we had a little hood fire over a kitchen stove.
residential?
Small little, not a fire, not a job.
Not a job. Smithtown checked in with one yesterday. Great use.
Condo complex again.
Yep. Great use of the automatic aid response. They were operating, I think, multiple alarms when that came through.
I think there was 6 departments or 7 departments total.
Yeah. I think fire throughout.
Hopog, Wisconsin. You make that one, Ryan? No. You didn't make it again? Jesus. Oh, that's right. No mutual aids for the guy.
Yep. We were talking about that before.
Eventually,
yeah. You got, what, 4 months? Yeah, 4 months, and then he's good to go. Or 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. Drill of the week. So I figured this would be a good time to plug.
You suck?
You suck. This book
That guy
is
sucks.
by the hazmat guy. It's called You Suck at Teaching Hazmat. And it's a book for instructors or teachers. It's not about hazmat. It's just about...
It's about teaching.
Yeah, a guide to a more engaging delivery for any audience. So
Did you finish it
I finished it.
so I can read it?
Yeah, it's a quick read, but phenomenal. And it's hilarious, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
There was actually a couple of times where
Listen,
I
I've
laughed
had a
out loud.
lot of great times with those two.
Oh, yeah.
Teaching over the years, doing hazmat.
It is literally,
and I'm sure some of this has to do with sometimes while we were together.
Yeah, probably. Great book.
We do a lot of laughing.
If any of you guys
So you suck at teaching hazmat.
Yeah.
Small book.
So we
It's
talked.
like, what, 100 pages maybe?
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
it.
about
No, I don't think it's even that many, is it? We talked about their teaching style.
Very engaging, those two.
Yeah.
And they make it funny while learning, which is awesome. And that's what you got to do. You got to suck your audience in and get them involved. So that's
Yeah,
great.
so if you guys want to grab that book, you can go to the Hazmat Guys website and check it out. Really, really good book. If any of you guys are looking to become an instructor, or if you are an instructor and looking to better yourself, or if you just hopped into the officer position and you're going to be running drills and stuff like that, this is a perfect book. So just wanted to plug that.
Awesome.
All right. We're moving right along here.
That's all you had for drill of the week? Nothing else? You didn't have
No,
anything good you want to come up with?
What do you got?
I got nothing. Well, it is the winter months. I mean, listen, fires happen at any time, any weather. So don't be afraid to go out and drill in the cold and stuff, but don't overwhelm the people that they're freezing or anything else if you're in colder weather.
Actually,
But you can do a lot of inside drills,
Yes.
a lot of stuff on the apparatus floor, stuff like that, whether it's an SCBA drill or, even you can do some laddering or moving ladders around the apparatus bay. That's something that is a skill that you need to learn and master, is moving portable ladders around. Okay, and I know everybody could say, oh, I could put a portable ladder up. Well, sometimes it's got to go butt end first. Sometimes it's got to go tip end first. Sometimes you got to pivot it around things, or you got to put it on angles and stuff like that. So, and I'm not saying don't damage the building, don't damage the fire trucks, but those are good, fun drills sometimes to go between apparatus or between gear racks, or putting it down and raising it up a little bit, depending on how high your bays are. There's a lot of things you can do with portable ladders, and you should play with that. But
Yeah.
even stretching hose lines, you could stretch through the bays, around the tires, see how it gets caught up, stuff like that. Those are all fun little drills that you can do inside, but don't be afraid to go outside either.
I'm gonna say also search drills, because I don't know.
Search
did
drills
you,
good?
Did you get a chance to look at that article that I sent you?
I started to. I didn't get to finish.
So it was Fire Engineering put out an article about the rise in civilian
deaths.
in structure fires.
Yep.
It's like rapidly been increasing.
And if you look at it, and even though fires are down, civilian deaths are up, and there's a lot of different
Yeah.
reasons for that, and we can go back and forth.
Well,
and we
what
can
they-
beat each
but
other
what
up
I'm saying
about
is-
who's not going into buildings when they should be going into buildings, or all this other stuff. We can get into all the different technicalities of it. But the smoke is severely deadly.
Yes.
Houses are bottled up. Buildings are bottled up a lot more tighter. So the smoke is that much more toxic in a more compartmentalized type of building. So, obviously people take smoke, they're going to go down. So we have to look at these factors.
What I thought was interesting, though, is they broke down a bunch of different things, and one of them had to do with search. Like, what part of the search were most people found and how? The majority of the people found were visual, and the second most way that victims were found were by feel. And then I think after that was a thermal imaging camera, and then these other little things there.
And it comes back to, training and drilling and everything else that you do. But when you look at the majority of even the United States, and I'm sure it's pretty much everywhere, we're more based on engine apparatus than we are truck apparatus, right? For the most part, right? There's more engines than there are ladders or rescues and stuff around the country. And the engine's usually going to be your first apparatus on scene. And are we training our engine people to do searches? Are we teaching them just to stretch line? Are we looking to, if we have enough personnel, to split them into crews and stuff like that? I was just reading something, and I didn't get to finish reading it, but it was about a company that got on scene and went in and rescued 3 people. They didn't stretch the line. They waited and they went to do the search without the line, and they rescued a bunch of people. So I was just looking at that earlier before I ran out the door. So I want to look at that and read through that. But, they made the right call of getting civilians out quickly.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, if you go into search mode, search and rescue, and you don't stretch the line, what's going to happen to the fire? It's going to increase in size. It's going to get hotter. It's going to get worse. Quicker we get water on the fire, the quicker the problems go away. Less smoke, less heat. But you have to weigh these things out of what is actually going to work.
Yeah. And, just to swing it back around to drill of the week, if you are an engine company, maybe a substation engine, whatever it may be, if you don't have a ladder company or rescue company within your quarters, well, either set up a drill with them and cross-train each other, or come up with drills that are outside the norm of what you're doing. So I would say that's drill of the week.
And you shouldn't be waiting to search until after the fire's out, right? And, I understand we're short-staffed in a lot of the volunteer departments and stuff like that, but we have to be able to work our abilities. Whether it's your second or third due becomes the truck company or whatever. I mean, everybody's got different policies of how they work it, but we want to make sure that the search is done. Searches have to be done in every single building, even if they tell you that everybody's out of the building.
That was another point in that article, yep.
So you have to search every bit of every single building you go into.
I believe in that article it said 3% of victims that were rescued were from fires where they were told there were no victims. And that's...
I've had a few.
I know it's not a gigantic number, but in the grand scheme of things,
Yes.
it is.
Listen, when you run up to a building and somebody says, yeah, everybody's out, everybody's accounted for, stuff like that, does it change your demeanor a little? Does it change your level of urgency in certain cases? Yes, it may, but still, the buildings have to be searched.
Yeah.
You never know if everybody is truly out of the building.
So that goes into the first topic submission. Somebody had submitted VES tool assignment, 2-person or 1-person, and are you searching beyond the door?
Absolutely past the door.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that. It's going to be very dependent on the situation, and it's going to be very dependent on the type of building. The standard tools or policy can adjust and change depending on what's going on. So obviously, if I pull up to a commercial building and I'm the OV, I'm going to think a lot differently than I am when I'm residential. So, and then am I going into a 1-story home, a 2-story home, a 3-story home? How large is the structure? Is it a multiple dwelling? Is it an apartment? Is it SROs, right? Things start to alter and change. So your perception or your mind has to be cognizant that size up situational awareness thing is going off in your head every single time, and it's going to adjust as you start to see certain things. For instance, right? General tool assignment for an OV, Halligan hook or a New York roof hook, right? Those the 2 tools I want to take with me. So I have a metal shaft tool and a metal shaft Halligan. So I can use the 2 together, and I can do a lot with that. Now, if it's a 2nd story, I might need a ladder.
Yep.
See where I'm going with this? Even if it's a 1st floor, am I going around the rear and going through a sliding glass door or a low window or a casement window? Or do I need, like we were talking about this afternoon, an OV ladder? All right, a 6-foot ladder or a little giant or gorilla ladder or something that gives me a couple steps to get in that 1st floor window, right? And then what am I searching into? Most likely I'm going to try to go for bedrooms, but depends on time of day and things like that. And you could have bedrooms on all floors depending on the situation. So it's about knowing your buildings. It's about knowing your jurisdiction, about knowing the area that you're responding to. But the OV tools can adjust. The OV may be working in conjunction with another person, sometimes alone, but usually they're going to team up with another OV or a roof person. They may be going to upper floors. They may go to lower floors. They may be going, they're trying to go opposite the fire, obviously.
Right.
So there are a lot of factors. Commercial buildings, now I might be taking a maul or an axe or something like that. I may take a saw, forcible entry type of saw, depending on what's going on. And even getting to the rear yards of even residential homes, right? What is back there? What is in the backyard? And I say this a lot. You go in the back, it's the unknown.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could have a swimming pool 3 feet off the back of the house.
I was just gonna
You
say
could
that.
have cars in the backyard. You could have lawn furniture. You could have tools. You could have dogs. You can have all sorts of stuff. Am I dealing with a chain link fence? Am I dealing with a wooden fence? Am I doing a PVC fence, right? So factors start to go in there. And then it may be a steel cage fence, depending on jurisdiction. So there are so many factors that you have to consider. But general tools, yes, one OV basically per rig. So you might have one OV going one direction, one OV going another direction. They can team up together, but it depends on what's going on. Where's the fire? Is it on the first floor, the second floor, third floor? Everything changes.
Yeah, and I think that it's important what you just mentioned with you don't know what's in the rear yard or the side yard. Like I know from my childhood home, we had what we called the pool room. Now in that room, it was basically like another den that we had, and we had a pool table in there, but it had sliding glass doors going out to the backyard, and our pool was about 3 feet
Off the back of the house.
off the back of that house.
Very dangerous. And
Yeah.
I've seen people fall in, going around a rear in
Yeah,
the dark,
it happened.
smoke condition, hose lines going in.
Yeah, it happened at a
happens.
fire I was at. A guy, he didn't go all the way in, but like misstepped and fell in. Somebody grabbed him. And then for some odd reason, it just dawned on me, you were talking about like cages or whatever. Did you ever hear or know about I want to say it's in Massapequa, the Hell House? It's, I'll try and, I don't know if I can put it up on the story, but this house has been in Massapequa since like the 70s or whatever. And it's like a devilish looking house. Looks like it has a face, like the layout of the house. But in the back,
Amityville Horror House?
no, it's like a big thing on Halloween. People go there and check it out.
okay.
But it's got like those iron fences in the front, and they have like it looks the sheets in the window, like the curtains. They look like a hearse. And in the backyard, there's a giant fucking bird cage, steel bird cage that's hanging like
From a tree or something?
yeah. But when I say giant, like you could fit people in there. So I want to say I'm pretty sure it's a Massapequa Hell House. So if you're listening to this, check it out. You could see pictures of it. But that's just another thing to
You
think
could have
of.
wrought iron gates around some
Yeah.
buildings, Another thing to consider is houses that are on grade or property that's on grade. So in the front, it may look like one story. In the back, it may be 2 or 3 stories.
Yeah, I've had
right?
that before.
So now you're the OV, and you're looking at this building, and now you go around the back of the house, and you're basically in the basement level, and the fire is now above you because it's actually on the first floor,
Mm-hmm.
which is above you. So things can change very quickly for the OV.
Yeah, and even
you got to
too,
be smart. You got to really be smart.
Another thing that I noticed that was fairly new. I haven't seen it a lot. I've only seen this in one house, and maybe you know the type of window, but down on the South Shore, there's a house where the second floor windows are like a rectangle, but small, like a basement rectangle window.
Yep.
And that's another factor to
Similar to
think
like
of.
a casement. So a casement window can be upright, and then you have them sidewards too. You have
Yeah,
all
maybe
different-
that's what it is. But it was odd to see on a second floor of a house. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they had the sticker, the
Some
fire
people have
department sticker on it.
octagon windows and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different variations, triangles, and you never know what you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. Next submission. What are your thoughts on pay per call volunteers? So I think we've talked about this a little bit,
We kind of
but
touched on it.
I don't know too much about the pay per call stuff. I know the
there's
concept,
a lot of places
but
do it. They pay them $10 per call that they go on or whatever. There's good and bad to it, and we talked a little bit about LOSAP and what LOSAP is and the pension program. Not every state has it or not every country has it. It's, but you're building up credits over time that eventually you start collecting at 55, 60, 62, whatever your department or how it has it set up. So the state kind of gives you the parameters and you can play with it, but it's voted on by the public. So if you have LOSAP, you can't pay per call. You'd have to get rid of LOSAP in order to do that, which goes back to a community vote. And like I said, it's different in different states of how they do it. But there's good and bad to that too, right? I mean, are you paying people that are just coming and signing in, or are you paying people that actually get on the rig? right? And
Yeah.
if I was to do a pay per call, I would say you'd have to be on the rig or something, or give duty crew time. You want it to be feasible, and I'm not saying it's wrong either way, but there are times where we get turned around. Fire, you go to the firehouse, you never make the rig or whatever. I get it. I understand all that. But you have to be very careful. And then within New York State, with VFBL laws and everything else, volunteers can only be paid up to X amount, and they're trying to make some changes into this stuff. There's a lot of different things happening. But if we're going to pay per call, why don't we just pay firefighters? We can get into that whole realm. You're paying a volunteer. They're not a volunteer anymore. They're a paid person. So, no matter how you slice this, and nobody wants to say get rid of volunteers. Well, there are people that do.
Well, I guess in a sense, for
you have
the
to be very
incentive-
careful.
The incentive part of it, like, hey, we need firefighters, and if you're around after your regular job, you can get $10 a call. I could
Correct.
see the incentive part of that.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if I had that option at 18 years old, I probably would have sat in the firehouse all day.
Yeah,
and
100%.
I did it for free anyway.
Yeah.
We hung out there because we liked to hang out together, and that's what we did. And we did our own drills without worrying about points. We went on calls not worrying about points. We just wanted to go on calls. Like, that's what we wanted to do. It was all about doing shit.
Yeah.
And that has evolved and changed over the years. And we got all different animals. Like I said, I don't think LoSAP is really doing what it was really intended to do. It's another incentive, and we keep adding incentives and adding incentives and adding incentives. And, everybody wants to say it doesn't cost any money. Incentives do cost money. Everything costs money. There is nothing free in this world. I'm sorry. Somebody is paying for it somewhere along the line. Whether it's the person down the street, it's the taxpayer, whether it's the corporation, somebody is paying for it. There is nothing ever free. So, do we keep looking at incentives, or do we say, let's pay some people? Like I said, there's so many different avenues, and we kick a lot of cans down the road and try to put Band-Aids on problems instead of trying to fix the real problem.
Do you know of
But
any
I think some of the incentives are good. I think, LoSAP in the sense is good, but it doesn't help the young kid now to join. And, even though we're recruiting and bringing new people in, a lot of these new people can't afford to live here, and they're out of here anyway. So what are we setting them up for? A LoSAP system that they may not even be, I think ours, you have to be in 5 years to be vested into the system. I think, I can't remember how it's set up. So what if they only do 4 years and then that time don't count? I don't know.
Right.
Like I said, everywhere is different in the way the systems are set
Do you know
up.
of any departments on Long Island that do pay-per-call?
I don't know of anybody that off the top of my head.
Yeah, 'cause I don't. I mean, I guess because everyone I know there are departments that don't do LoSAP out here. I don't know how many, but I know of one that doesn't. And I think they. Oh no, I'm sorry. They don't have a benevolent.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah, there's some places don't have benevolence.
Yeah. The next submission.
But there are a little different ways. I think some of the things that are being proposed can be good things. And maybe some of the changes will help, like giving a young person a gas card, every month to put gas in their car to come to the firehouse is probably a good incentive.
Have you done that at your department?
I've tried.
Like, not every member, but I know that there was a thing where you'd have like volunteer of the month or something like that. Whoever responded to the most calls in your company, the company would give them like a $50 gas card.
Right.
Something, but that was at a company level, not a department level.
But even like, it's not just recruiting, it's retaining.
Yes.
Like I say, I really think they should be split into two different categories. I think people that are invested in the community, people that bought homes in the area, we talked about this a little bit. Those are the ones that are definitely staying. And those are the ones we want to keep as best we can. So how do we get them on board or to stay? And some of them need help now because it is so expensive. The taxes are ridiculous, and they're trying to cut some of this stuff down. But the school district is my biggest problem right now. Right, I pay more money to the school district than anything else, and by far. And some people, I pay over $10,000 in school district taxes a year. That's a lot. And I know some people listening across the country are gonna be like, "What? That's insane." Yes, the school district, and my kids are out of school. So I'm paying for a school district that my kids aren't even in the school anymore. So
And the teachers are still getting paid like shit.
Yeah, they get paid pretty well, but
Oh,
they do.
I don't know, Kev.
It depends on where you are.
Oh, you're
but,
gonna get attacked for that one. I hope
they
that's
can,
a
they
clip.
can attack me all they want. But, when we start looking at these avenues and, this much money, so they're giving me incentives on my property tax, but not out of the school district. Like the school district would have to approve to give us that. So, it's a big shell game, but when you look at how much you're getting off your taxes, it's really not a lot.
It's a small
not a lot.
amount.
It's a very small
Well,
amount.
they did. What was it, Pennsylvania, or like one area in Pennsylvania? This was from a while ago. We talked about it. They did like, I think it was some insane number, like almost near 100% property tax discount for volunteer firefighters. And I remember I tried looking into it to get more information. I couldn't really find much on it, but there was
Can't
like
see how they would do that, but,
it was something insane.
it would be a huge help. I mean, it would be a huge help for a lot of people in getting that discount. I think we get 10% now on some of the local taxes and stuff. It's not a lot. But, we do this, it's, and they say, oh, it's negligible, it doesn't. No, it's taking away from something. We're paying people, basically. That's where all these incentives. Like New York State has incentives on taking certain programs. You get money now. You get, $1,200 for firefighter one or whatever it is. I forget what it is. But only certain programs. Not every program. It's only certain programs. And if you've already taken them, you're not getting that.
Right,
So a
right.
person like myself that took these programs years ago, it doesn't benefit me at all.
Right.
But you still want to retain me. So
Yeah.
what are we doing here? So there are ways, and they are trying to do things, but I don't think the regular Joe that's joining the fire department is looking at that stuff as a big incentive to them.
Right. Next topic: firematic officers holding executive offices at the same time. I feel like this kind of ties in a little bit to what we were
In
talking
what
about before.
way, though?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because when I saw this before, I was like, I do remember whether it was like a, I don't know, maybe like a
Like an
depart.
executive board? Or, I don't.
I don't
I
know.
mean, you maybe a commissioner being an officer. I mean, a commissioner can't be a chief, but they could be an officer. Actually, they could be an assistant chief. Can't be chief of department. I don't. I would need more information into that.
Yeah, or I'm trying to think. There's definitely an example that I have, and I can't think of, like maybe something like a
Like a trustee.
yeah, like a recording secretary, maybe holding, being an officer and being in like meetings, like maybe somebody who's in meetings where they maybe shouldn't know certain things, and they're an officer. Like that's what I'm.
I would
kinda
need more
thinking.
information about, because everybody has different types of executive committees,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what it is. Like an executive board that is overseeing quota or making recommendations to the chiefs. Like that's
Or maybe like a
or there's-
president
Or
of an
there's a presidents of organization and a board of trustees that oversees the money. There's so many different boards, benevolent boards, commissioners,
Yeah.
trustees of the organization. I don't know where they're going with it, so it's hard to say.
Next one.
That's a hard one.
Yeah. Maybe I should have asked.
Without knowing more details.
Who should be in charge of new member applications? So this particular submission, somebody elaborated on it in our DMs, basically saying that whoever's handling the applications, it's supposed to be done by the chiefs, and there's commissioners that are doing it, and with the background screenings, stuff like that, it's supposed to be done 10 days. And they had sent me, I guess, like a state law that was basically said that a chief has to do this. But basically, that their organization, they said they're not struggling, but they do have people that are coming in and handing in applications, but the application process is taking months.
Yeah, and this happens in almost every organization, and it's a tough situation. It's even, we've had this even in my own department where people fell through cracks and stuff, or they didn't get a call back. And it's a tough situation. And when we put everything on the top leadership or certain people, and they're busy or something happens to them, and then it just gets lost in the mix. Like, there needs to be a group, like a committee, that everybody knows what's going on, and there's got to be follow-up phone calls. Like, if an application comes in, you should almost send them a letter immediately saying, thank you, we've received your application, blah, 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 blah. We will contact you within 2 weeks or something in a timely fashion. Not send an application in, not knowing if anybody ever received it, and then waiting for months for somebody to call you back. It doesn't work. You're never going to recruit people that way.
Well, I think there's the other issue with it, because there are departments that have screening committees where they go through new applicants and stuff like that. And then there's also the cycle where they're going to take in a certain amount of people in the beginning of the year, and then they'll do it maybe quarterly, or they do it
every 6
semi-annually.
months.
Yeah. So the problem I see with that is, if somebody, say you do it every 6 months, January 1st, you're bringing in a group of people, and somebody puts their application in January 2nd, that's a long time for them to wait, especially if they're willing to do it. Strike the iron while it's hot. And I think we hit on this a while ago, but I remember when I joined the fire department the first time, when I came in, they had like the Proby training committee, so to speak, to get us ready to go to Firefighter 1. And I needed one class. Like, I had to do a certain amount of in-house classes before I could even ride on the truck. And I was missing one class, and I had to wait for this guy that was teaching that class, but he worked all the time. And it was always like, well, maybe we'll do it next week. And I was starting to get frustrated. I'm like, I want to ride the trucks. And all I need is that one class. And the class was simply just a truck orientation. And one of the guys from the truck company came up to me and he was asking me about my classes. I'm like, I just need the truck orientation. He's like, I'll do it with you. I said, okay. I went and he showed me, basically just walking around the trucks. These are the compartments. This is what's in them, all that stuff. He signs off on my paper and I'm like, okay, ready to go. I hand it to my captain, and my captain brings it back to the committee, and they're like, he's not on the committee, so that doesn't count. And I'm like, so now I have to wait for this other guy that's been blowing me off, and some other guy who I'm pretty sure was a lot more qualified than the guy on the training committee gave me the same class. So I think there needs to be, especially in today's
that guy
day and
should
age,
have reached out to the committee or the people and said, hey, is it okay if I do this with Tyler and make sure and it's good?
I agree with that.
And that's part of the problem. You know, our biggest failures is communication.
Yes.
And understanding the communication that goes back and forth. So when we get into these situations, we think we're doing the right thing, but it's not authorized. You know, things have to be authorized. So, you know, and like you said, there's a lot of issues that go on in the volunteer fire service, and we need to change. We need to make changes and adjustments. What worked 20, 30, 40 years ago, and I'm not saying tradition isn't good, is not working now, and we need to fix that.
Yes.
Especially with recruitment and retention. There's so many different avenues, but having people wait every 6 months and stuff like that. Now, on the other side of that, that is helpful to the instructors.
Yes, there's
because you
that
have a
side of it.
system and
Yes.
everybody goes through classes together. Like, you know, right now we have one Proby going through our basic class. We have a basic, which is 6 months, and then we advanced Probies 6 months. So they do different things. And, you know, the problem is now you have one instructor, or he has to get people to help, or even 3 or 4 people to help this Proby, because you can't stretch a hose line by yourself. You've got to get other people. So now we have all these people to train one person, which is great, but now we have nobody else coming. Now other applications may be coming in. Could we bring a person in a little early or get them into the system and start working with this one person? Maybe. So we have to look at this stuff. And then, you know, like I said, there's a department in Nassau that brings people in as observers before they even start classes.
Yes.
So they just start bringing them in. They give them gear. They give them a helmet. They put a shield on it that says, "Oh, I think it's different color and everything." And you can go on the rigs. You take your basic classes, bloodborne pathogens, stuff like that. You can respond on the rig and you stand and watch. You don't really help, but you watch and see if this is worth it. Like, I want to do this or not. Because some people, they come in, they don't know what they're expecting, and then they get there and they're like, I really don't want to do this. Well, now we wasted time. So, and that's what happened. We brought 2 probies in. Guy went through a couple classes and then bailed. And now we're down to 1. And, there are times where we bring in 20. There's other times we bring in 2. You know, and it's just the way it is. So maybe we need to start changing and looking at the way we're doing things and saying, can we fix this and make it better?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're missing, And I'm not saying just bring everybody in just for no reason. I just think we need a better system. I think you apply to anything, you should get an automatic email back or a letter in the mail or whatever, probably an email. I think that's the best way these days.
Email.
Instant response.
Send a fucking raven.
Thank you for your interest in joining the fire department. We've hereby gotten your application. We will be reviewing it and we'll go forward to the committee or whatever. Give them a thing. Then should be updates every couple of weeks or whatever, or a phone call follow-up and say, hey, thank you. Are you still interested? Yes, I'm still interested. Why don't you come down to Firehouse and meet with everybody? Whatever the situation is, but we got to fix it.
I'm a big proponent of not waiting. I hate waiting. I've always hated it.
Well,
and I hate,
like you said, there are things that have to be done, like an arson, a background check. There are things.
I'm cool with that. I'm talking about all the stuff that you do. Like, for instance, that one story I was just telling you where the guy did the truck orientation with me.
But he should have known better.
Okay,
he should
I
have
get
called
that,
somebody.
But let's put it this way: that guy was an ex-captain of that company.
I understand that. Or whoever that training committee is, or your officers should have said, Tyler needs 1 class. Let's get it done for him.
There's a bunch of different things that could have been done.
There are so many issues, like I said, and we need to just start fixing these
But I'm
issues.
saying, though, you should have your training committee, but for something that, if it's a simple truck orientation, any officers should be allowed to do that. Any ex-officers should be allowed to do it.
You got to have checks and balances in the system to make sure it's done right.
Give them a sheet of paper with that. Like, to tell them that, hey, this is what you go through as long as you complete it. And then that officer can call up whoever's on the training committee or the chief and say, hey, just want to let you know I did this class with so-and-so. And then to your point before with the people, like if you have a guy that needs to learn hose handling, you could take one instructor and then grab the 4 guys that are just sitting at the firehouse waiting for a call and ask them for their help. That should be allowed, especially if you're hurting for members and you're trying to get people through a process. Like, you got to start making some adjustments here.
Yes.
100%.
It's just difficult, and we have classes on certain nights of the week, and that doesn't work for everybody's schedule.
Exactly, yeah.
There are so many little factors, and there has to be balance, and there has to be some sort of structure. But can we have some adjustments here and there? Like my department, we have some daytime fire department trainings during the week. Because that helps some of the people that work nights or shift work or anything else. It doesn't work everywhere, but it works for us.
Absolutely.
And it's not for everybody, but it's for some.
Yeah. The next one, fire departments turning academy classes into certification mills. So again, I think this one lacks a little bit of context, but we talked about this before. The people that just kind of go and you go get all these certifications.
Listen, to be blunt, there's certificate collectors. They collect certificates just to say they have training, which is good, but it's also bad. You not only collecting a certificate, but you have to stay on top of that because everything's a perishable skill. Right? We have a lot of perishable skills in the fire service. And if you're not up to date in your stuff, and there are certain things that are required yearly, right? There's certain things that we're supposed to do. For instance, like our OSHA training, right? We have to do it every year. Nobody wants to do hazmat every year. Nobody wants to do bloodborne pathogen, but we have to. And that keeps us current, right? Those are laws. OSHA's law. Some states don't follow OSHA. Other countries don't follow. They all have their specific rules. Like, being an EMT, every couple of years you have to refresh, right? We don't do that in the fire service. We should, but we don't. And nobody wants more rules. Nobody wants more training. But, just having a certificate, let's say RIT, for example, right? Fast truck stuff, rapid intervention. You take RIT once. You go through 5 nights or whatever, your RIT program is. Ours is 5 nights. But if you don't train on that yearly,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to perform under pressure. And that goes back to ladders, that goes back to stretching hose or anything else. So, listen, I could fill up walls with the certificates I have. All right? They don't mean shit if I can't perform. All right? I put them all in a book. It's great. I have a lot of training. Who cares? It means nothing unless I can perform it. So you have to keep those skills up. You have to keep your training levels up. And I'm not saying every academy is a certification or certificate mill, but there are reasons people take training. Some of it is required. Like my department now has officer training requirements. There are other departments that have that. Everybody was worried about OSHA coming down with all of these, NFPA guidelines and turning them into OSHA standards where we would have to do it. And I see the good and I see the bad to it. There's a good side to it because we do need more training and we do need competent officers and firefighters. On the other side of it, do we need that much more training? There's got to be a balance in there. So if that were to happen and OSHA did do that, New York State is a PESH state, which follows OSHA law, we would have all had to do that. But we did see a lot of people increase in some of the trainings. A lot of chiefs started taking Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2. A lot of people started taking Firefighter 2. And I think it's great. And, I've said this many times before, if you took one extra class every single year, in 10 years you would have programs that you wouldn't normally take.
Right.
We should always be trying to increase our training level. And I'm not saying, you have to, you should, or you should want to. You should want to become a better firefighter. You should want to gain more knowledge. And if it works for your schedule and you can do it, you should do it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think that there are certain departments that are good with certain disciplines when it comes to, say, annual training or something like that. So, for instance, I'll tell you a certification that I have that I never once did again is railroad emergencies. I took a course on that when I first joined, and I wasn't supposed to take the course because I was still a probie, but I did and never used it, and I don't remember anything from it. And then there's another course, like I got my tech rescue certification, but my department that I was in at the time
Doesn't do tech rescue?
No, they had a tech rescue team.
Some people take it and they don't have it.
And we drilled twice a month. We drilled once with our tech rescue team, and then we also would do a monthly drill with the township tech rescue team. So that's an example of a department that said, okay, we'll send you out to get the certification, but you're going to be part of this team, and we're going to be doing monthly drills. And the same deal with another department when I got my ice rescue certification. When the colder months were around the corner, we would start going over ice rescue stuff. And then when it got cold enough where we could go and do a hands-on drill in a frozen lake or whatever, we did because the department owned that discipline. We have an ice rescue setup. So if we're sending guys out to go get their certifications, we are going to drill on this. But yes, there are people out there that will go and take certain certifications that aren't necessarily what their departments handle.
Correct.
And that's where it fails.
And some of it is good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, tech rescue, we do tech rescue. And I have all my tech rescue certifications. But there are people that take tech rescue that their department is not part of tech rescue. They'll never be part of tech rescue. And they're taking up a seat in a class that somebody else probably needs.
Right.
I mean, if there's open seats, you can take whatever you want. I think it's good. Or if you're looking to move on and go somewhere else down the line, it's good. But you have to keep that up. Like, confined space, for example, you're supposed to make an entry every single year. And a lot of people don't. So you take the class, then you got to continually train, right? It's like anything else. But we are all hazard agencies. We respond to everything. The 911 call comes in or a direct call comes in and they're reporting some sort of emergency, fire department's going to go.
Yep.
Whatever it is. And, we've seen this a lot with elevators, right? There was one just recently around here. We don't have enough people trained in elevators. And elevators are in every jurisdiction, every district, there's an elevator somewhere. There's elevators in private homes, right? The American for Disabilities Act required a lot of ramps and elevators and chairs and everything else. So there's so many things that we have to deal with, and we have to be versed in it. And not just one or two members, everybody should be versed in that, because you're going to respond. If you're going to respond to these calls because somebody's stuck in an elevator and you're not trained in elevators, shame on you. And, this is happening where, departments have taken out hydraulic tools, e-tools, everything else, and destroyed elevators. And there's really no reason for it. Most elevator doors can be opened up very easily. The Elevator Mechanics Union will tell you fire department shouldn't touch it. We should call for an elevator mechanic. And sometimes they are available. But when people are sick, trapped, or stuck, or in a serious emergency, or in panic, you have to be able to open that elevator door up safely. So you should get trained in elevator rescue, and you should practice it. But, a lot of them have a keyway. You could drop the elevator key in. You can open it up. Some of them have ways you can pick them and open the doors. There's a lot of different avenues. But if you don't take an elevator class, you're never going to know how to do this.
Yeah.
And you're going to show up on scene, and you're going to go, oh, well, we break doors, so we're going to break doors because that's what firefighters do. No, that's not what we do.
And I'll just add this. Elevator rescues, because we dealt with a ton of them in this district, especially with all the high-rise buildings in the area. And elevators don't typically get stuck. And when they do, meaning like, the amount of times they're operated during the day, if they get stuck, there's some sort of mechanical issue. And it could be dependent on if it's a hydraulic elevator or if it's a cable system. And just because you go in and pop a door open and say the actual elevator car is halfway in and you just say, oh, we'll just stick an attic ladder down there and, hey, go ahead, climb up. Well, the other part of that is knowing how to lock out the elevator room and shut down the machinery.
Power off
because
before you even do that.
What happens is maybe the doors that you just popped open, and I could be completely wrong on this from an elevator mechanic standpoint, but maybe you simply opening up the doors was all the elevator needed to continue doing what it was doing. And now you got guys that can get in,
understanding elevators in general, fireman's service, how it works, lockout, tag out. Obviously, there's so many factors involved with elevators, and I'm not going to get into an elevator class here. I could talk for hours on elevators, and I've taken quite a fefew programs on elevators. And when I worked in certain areas of New York City, we dealt with elevators on a daily basis.
Oh, I bet.
And, it happens all the time. And, it's electrical malfunctions, it's switches that don't get met up all the time, it's relays that break. There's so many different factors. And there's ways around certain things. And there's the right way to do it and there's the wrong way to do it. And even there's spots in the middle. And you got to be very, very careful of how you do things because you can hurt people. And, people have been dropped. People have fallen down elevator shafts because fire departments have taken them out the wrong way. Yeah. So you really need to understand these things. You should take training in them, and you should be proficient because if you do the wrong thing, it could be life or death.
For sure.
And not only for the civilian, but even yourselves.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very, very careful. But getting back to certificates and training mills and everything else, yes and no. I mean, I think education is good. Taking classes is good. I'm a big believer in training all the way around. And whether you're a volunteer paid or anything else, you should educate yourself as much as possible if you have the time and the availability. And don't say, I don't have the time or too much is required or anything else. There are ways to do it. And there's a lot of online programs you can take. There's weekend courses, there's day-of-the-week courses, there's night courses. There's always something available to you somewhere along the line in the fire service.
Absolutely. Next topic, top mount versus side mount pump panels.
Oh, you want to get into fight like fog nozzles and solid boards?
I will just say that the only experience
You're wrong.
I have is is top mount, and I have played around with side mount panels, but I'm used to top mount, so I don't have enough of an opinion on this. But I know you have.
I got a lot of opinions.
Let's hear it. I'm curious to see what your
I'm not a
idea
believer
is.
in top mount pump panels.
Why?
And I've used both.
Why is that?
There's a ton of reasons.
All right, let's hear it. List it off,
There's a
Kev.
ton of reasons, yes. So first off, when you're looking at the stuff, you know, vehicles cost money, right? And, you know, I don't want to say some people. There are people that walk around and kick tires and open doors and say it's a beautiful looking fire truck. Okay, it's got to be practical for your jurisdiction. It's got to be practical to the taxpayers and the people that are funding, or the village, or whoever. And you should do your due diligence. And this gets back to, you know, even, you know, talking with Glenn and other people. But, you know, fire trucks are not cheap if you're buying, especially a new truck. And you better do your due diligence. Your committee or whoever is looking into purchasing an apparatus, the specking of a rig and reading the spec, and I mean reading the spec over and over again. I read specs down forward. I read it backwards. I start in the middle, go back, forward, back. I go line by line and make sure everything
Do you
is.
do that when you go through your iTunes agreement, your Apple
iTunes.
agreement?
What is that?
Yeah.
Those are. I never read those agreements.
Kev definitely reads.
Check.
Reads the terms and
No,
conditions.
but it's very important, you know. And even when we go for final inspection, stuff like that, and I've been on a few different committees. I'll get on a creeper and get underneath the rig and look at it, you know. And we bought a ladder truck just recently, not too long ago, and I was on a creeper under, and some members came in. They're like, "What are you doing?" I go, "We just spent over $2 million. I'm going to make sure that it's good." And they're like, "It looks fine." That's not the right attitude. If you just think your fire truck looks fine and they did everything right, shame on you, all right? You would not go buy a new car without walking around the whole car and looking at it, right? Do you just drive out of the dealer and just say, yeah, it's a nice car,
No,
everything's
but
fine?
some people do.
But you're gonna look to see if it's scratched, dented, or anything else, right? You should be doing that same due diligence when you buy an apparatus, whether it's a fire truck, a chief's car, an ambulance, whatever it is. You better look at it, and you better look at it sharply, all right? And there were things that we found, even looking underneath the rig. There were a couple hoses and stuff that were very close to the drive shaft. And, you know, I looked at it, the mechanic looked, I go, "What do you think?" He goes, "Yeah, that's got to be moved. It's too close," right? So there are things that you have to look at. Not everybody's perfect. These are custom apparatus, and you have to look at that stuff. All right. Now, top mount versus mid mount, all that stuff. There's so many factors, all right? And our last set of engines that we bought all side mount pump panels, not top mount. And we had a bunch of top mounts. And many years ago, when you go back into the fire service, we always had side mount. There was no such thing as a mid-mount pump panel, right? There were pumps on the front of rigs. There were pumps in the middle of the rig, right? If you go back and look at old apparatus, there was never such thing as a top mount pump panel. And people say, "Oh, we need these things because we got to be able to see the fire and everything else." Okay. All right. So maybe back then, you know, we didn't have as many radios and everything else. We have, everybody's got a radio out here nowadays. And what do you really need to see? The engine should not be parked in front of the building anyway. It should leave room for ladder trucks. That's a fact. You could say what you want. You need room for ladder trucks. And not just because the aerial has to make it, but aerial ladders, tower ladders, stuff like that, they have one or two shots of hitting the building in the right spots. They need all the room as possible in front of a building, okay? So park down the street, park across the street, park in somebody's driveway, get out of the way. Leave room for the ladder trucks. And even if they can't get it up, they have all the portable ladders and the hooks and everything else that you need for that building, okay? So, for example, if you have a 3-story building or a residential house, you're going to need a 35-foot ladder. 24 ain't going to make it. Your engine's going to have a 24-foot ladder on it, all right? You're probably not going to have a 35. So the ladders and all the stuff that you need is going to be on that ladder truck. So you want to leave room in front of the building, okay? So if you're down a house and you're standing on a top mount pump panel, you might not even be able to see the house anyway. So there's nothing to see. The second thing is you have to get up and down off that apparatus, right? You put it in pumps, you climb up on top of the apparatus, right? You put it into pump, get everything working, right? And then you got to climb down to help with the supply line to get into the truck. And then you got to climb back up and make sure the pressures are good and everything else. I can watch everything from a side mount pump panel, all right? And on top of that, I had members of my own department. They're like, "Oh, we've had these things for years." I go, "First off, we haven't had these things for years. This is just this last round of trucks. Before that, they were all side mounts. They're all side mounts. We went to these mid mounts. And when you really look at it, and you look at these mid-mount trucks, it adds length to the truck a lot of times.
Okay.
So you're giving up something. You could be giving up compartment space. You could be making your rigs longer. There's a lot of factors. If you're in a colder environment, like winter area, like we are here, okay, now there's separation from the engine or the motor or the cab and the pump. When you have a side mount pump panel, the pump panel is up against the cab, which gives heat off the engine that helps to keep that pump warm in the winter months. So that's another factor. There's so many factors, all right? But, members of my department, I said, when was the last time you pumped at a working fire? And he goes, what? I go, when was the last time you pumped at a working fire? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, I pumped at a drill like 6 months ago. I go, so you haven't had to pump. So why do you need that top mount pump panel? You can walk out of the rig and walk right to the side and open up the gates if you need to. But we drive rigs a lot. We don't always pump them.
True.
Think about it. You have to be first due or second due or third to operate a pump. And if you're not doing that on a regular basis, what do we need this top mount pump panel taking up all this extra space on my rig? Now, there's people that'll debate it. I mean, listen, there are some benefits of having it. Personally, me, as I get older, I don't want to get up and down off a rig. I really don't. It's a lot getting up and down.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective on it because, like I said, I've only been familiar with top mount pump panels, and I've never had an issue with them. I think
they all work.
Yeah,
I could figure out any pump panel.
Right.
If I look at it for a couple seconds, I've been pumping long enough, I could figure out where everything is and how to pump a truck. It takes seconds.
Now, I think maybe there's definitely a big difference, and this could also come down to customization of the pump. But I know, for instance, we had a truck in the department that had a side mount pump, and the actual levers were pull out and push in, whereas the top mount pumps pull down, and it just always looked a little tricky to me. Like these guys,
there's a lot of linkages and stuff. And
I'm saying for the side mount, but if you be able to, if you're trying to gate back, you're tapping the.
It's very simple.
I get it. I don't have the experience on it, so I couldn't be.
And they've gotten a lot easier than what they were years ago. I mean, that's how all our rigs were for many years. And to understand how a pump actually functions and really get into the linkages and everything else. I mean, I've been at fires where the linkage broke, and we reached in, we did the lever by hand. It's just a gate valve inside the pump. But some people don't understand that. They don't understand the way the pump really works. So there's ways, but yes, when they're all in a row too, there's a lot of linkages. Or it's electronic nowadays. A lot of stuff's electronic. I like simple. I think simple works the best. I think we have.
I agree with that.
Too much technology, too much electronics in these trucks now. It's getting to be a problem, and something is going to go wrong. Now, the newer pressure governors that we have on these rigs are phenomenal. They're phenomenal, but you better know how things work.
Right.
So, our last round of engines that we bought are very simplified, super simplified.
Now, since we're on the topic, let me throw another one at you. Rear mount versus mid mount.
It really depends. So, but let's get back to the engines. And I'm not against, I'm not against the mid, a top mount pump panel. They have their benefits to a certain extent. I just think for the money, the time, the size of the rig, and everything else, I just think the side mount pump panel, the old way we used to do it for many, many years, it worked forever, still works today. And it's simplification. It will keep your pumper warm, the pump itself warm in the colder months and everything else. But there's a lot of factors. Getting into the ladder trucks, it really is dependent on your district. Okay.
Yes,
there's
for sure.
There's people that truly believe a straight stick aerial is the best way to go. There's people that believe an elevated platform is the best way to go. There's people that believe a true tower ladder is the way to go. There's other people that believe ladder towers are a better way to go. There is a difference. So, there's so many factors to them. I was just in Florida. And I was on the West Coast, then the East Coast. And when I was over on the East Coast, I was on the highway, and I saw a rig I've never seen before. But it was basically an engine, mid-mount, straight stick aerial that shot off the back. It's obviously an aerial, but it has a pump. But it was a mid-mount with no bucket. And I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, I'm picturing it in my head right now. I don't think I've ever.
saw it last minute. It was like a couple lanes over from me, and I saw it. A truck went by, and I kind of glanced at it. I was like, "What the heck is that?" And I couldn't even see what it said on the side of the rig. But I was like, "Wow, I've never seen that before." But it was a mid-mount aerial, and it looked like a short aerial. I don't know if it was true 100-foot or anything like that, but it looked like it was on an engine chassis almost, maybe a little bit longer than an engine chassis. It was very odd.
That is interesting.
So I don't know. I got to look into it, but you know, it was definitely interesting. And listen, there's squirts out there. There were snorkels for years. My department had a American LaFrance snorkel, a 66 when I joined. Our first new engine was a 72 Seagrave pumper. Open cab in the back, and so we've definitely changed over the years the way we do things. There's no doubt about it. But it's very interesting when you see apparatus that's different than your norm.
I remember the senior guys used to rave about the old snorkel that Hop Hog had. And funny enough, that snorkel truck is now a prop at a paintball field out east.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's just in there. We went out paintballing, a couple guys from the fire department. We went out and we all took a picture in front of it.
Wow.
Just sitting there.
Does it still say the
No,
bomber on it?
all
They
this
took it
stuff
off?
was stripped
Yeah.
off, but like still there. That was the old snorkel, and those guys used to talk about how great that truck was.
It's got good and bad. I mean, it's like anything else, I mean, it's just a boom. So you can't climb up the ladder.
What about, have you seen, I want to say it's Rosenbauer, and I can't remember the name of the truck, but it's the boom that goes down. I want to say
Like the
there's
Bronto?
the Bronto. There's a city department somewhere along the East Coast that
Some of those
uses
things
them.
go extremely high. New York City was looking at possibly getting one.
Well, they bend.
135, 150
Yeah, but
feet.
they bend the opposite way too.
Yeah.
Which is
Well, it's like a snorkel, basically.
yeah,
So
pretty
it's got the
much.
ladder and then it bends at the end.
Yeah, they said the
and
one.
you have these squirts and sticks and there's all sorts of strange stuff
The
out
one
there.
I forget which. I'm not gonna even try and name which city it is because I don't need that shit. But they use it. I think they said like their main reason. I think they bought one of them, and it was because something with the bridges, like high angle rescues with bridges or something like that. It was practical for them.
Well, that's the thing. It really depends on your jurisdiction. You should look at who's around you and everything else. And, some people say, oh, well, Long Island's got too many ladder trucks, too many engines, all this stuff. And that's possible in a lot of areas. There could be some downsizing. I mean, and we talked about consolidation stuff over time. But you should really look at what's needed in your district or surrounding your district or what is available to you in surrounding districts. For my district, like I said, I got 3 22-story buildings. It's a big undertaking. And then we have a lot of 3-story and 4-story buildings, or even 5 and 6-story buildings. So, it really just depends on your jurisdiction. So
22
there's
story
benefits to certain things.
Do you guys have the tallest in Suffolk County?
I don't know. Possibly.
22 stories.
Probably. In Suffolk? I don't know what else is bigger.
The Denison
Nass-
building's up there, but not that high.
I don't think it's that high.
I think it's only 14 stories.
Probably is. Nassau County's got
They
some
got
pretty tall
Hofstra.
ones.
And then some like the
EAB building's pretty big. I don't know how many stories that is.
I'm trying to
Or
remember
It used to be EAB. Oh, by the Coliseum there, that's a pretty big building.
EAB.
I don't think that's 22 stories, though.
No,
But
maybe
it
the towers.
doesn't matter. I mean, listen, in buildings like that anyway, aerial ladders really aren't
No, I
being
know, yeah.
used. I mean, a lot of the windows don't even open in these big high-rise buildings, So it depends on your district. It depends on people say, oh, well, why does a volunteer department with 2-story homes need a 100-foot ladder? Well, because you can't even reach the thing from the street.
Right, yeah, that's
in some of these buildings, some of the mansions that we have in my district, some of them are like commercial buildings. They're huge.
Yep.
It's just really dependent on so many factors.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day about we had a mutual aid call to the North Shore, and this was a legitimate compound. And I mean, to the point where the trucks that were going in had to be checked by security before they can even enter the property. And I want to say this property was probably the size of like half a golf course. And they had multiple buildings, and the building that happened to be burning was the generator building that powered like the rest of the house and all the other buildings there. So yeah.
Yeah, we got properties up north in my town that have multiple buildings on the property.
Yeah.
You go through a giant gate, multiple acres, a lot of them right on the water, beautiful homes, and they're huge.
Yeah.
You know, you got to almost treat them as commercial buildings, which is insane.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a factor.
That's what I have for the topic submissions. Did you have anything?
Well, I got a bunch of stuff, but we're running.
Yeah, the piss clock is out again. God damn it.
Oh yeah, we're over an hour right now.
Yeah, but did you want to plug something?
Plug?
Yeah, weren't you talking about something before?
I've been talking to you. I want to start a new segment
Okay.
for the show if we can fit it in somehow.
Can
But I
always
want to
fit it
do department spotlights. You know, maybe a department can send us information about the department. We'll give you a little shout out. You know, how big your district is, how many rigs you have, you know, how many chiefs you have, whatever. You know, send us a department patch or something like that. We can add it to the list, and we can talk about that department. We can do a little research on it, and you know, we know there's people listening to us around the world now, but even in our own country, we've found some interesting places, just like that place out in Colorado in the mountains.
Creed Volunteer Fire
Department, or what's the other one? Louisiana, the Theobald, Aaron Heller was talking about.
Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Yeah.
That's the one. Thibodeau, interesting fire department with their fair. So, you know, we've talked to small town rural America departments that are.
But I even think
13 members is the whole department, you know. So we've seen a vast difference, and I'm sure around the world it's even more, but it'd be interesting to hear more about these departments.
Yeah, and I would love to do that.
And we could collect some patches while we're at it.
Yeah, or even put them out on the, you know, on our site and try to, you know, help out some fire departments with fundraising and stuff like that. So if you're listening to this and you hear it, just send us a message or send in a form on our website.
Send it a patch to Tyler.
Yeah, and then that way we could...
we're going to need a P.O. box for all the patches.
Yeah. That way we could just kind of see what the interest level would be, because I know there's people out there.
I think it's out there.
For sure. I mean, you have people that collect patches that, you know, love to collect patches.
Well, somebody gave me the
like
idea of creating like a patch wall, and I think it's a great idea, but being in somebody else's studio, I don't think it's going to go over too well if we start putting patches all over the wall. But maybe we can show off their patch or something cool from that department, just like we talked about with the T-shirts, you know, about you know, doing fundraisers for T-shirts at different departments or something. I don't know. We're you know, like we said, this thing grew very quickly, very fast. I mean, we're in year number 2 now already. The followers keep adding up, and we get a lot of great submissions. We're getting a lot of great information out to different departments to hopefully help them. And, you know, we can grow from there, you know, so see where this thing's going.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up episode 51. And we will be back next week.
Area 51?
There's gotta be what's the name of that fucking town?
Area 51?
Yeah, that it's right next to it.
I'm sure there's a volunteer fire department.
There's got to be a volunteer department over there. I'm gonna find it.
They probably have aliens on their patch and
Well, the whole town. I want to say it's like a girl's name. That is the name of the town. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it, but the whole town is fucking alien.
It's gonna be
themed.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Let me hold on.
Are you old enough? Oh, you weren't old enough. Did you ever watch that movie? Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
No, I did see.
Oh my God, have you seen it, Ryan? You guys are too young.
I did see
gotta
the
watch
one
it.
with Mel Gibson.
Spaceballs?
No, what's that alien movie? Hang on.
What's the combination? 1,
what
2, 3, 4, 5.
Next to Area 51.
Did you comb the desert?
Rachel, Nevada.
Rachel, Nevada? Volunteer department?
We got to check it out.
Is it volunteer or paid?
It's got to be, because
Probably
it's like
volunteer. Anybody from Rachel listening to us? I need a patch. Got to add that to my collection.
Hang on.
My firehouse has a huge patch collection. It's got to be a volunteer department in the middle of nowhere. I mean, well, federal government.
Oh, fuck yeah, they are.
What? Volunteers?
Volunteers.
All right.
I'm going to...
Regional Nevada, send us a patch.
I'm going to start... They got to have a sick patch.
It's got to have aliens on it.
Damn. All right,
Have you found anything?
I'm gonna have to find an email and get in touch with them. But all right,
There's got to be somebody that knows somebody from out there.
100%. I want it. That's what I want to start doing. I want to find people from Creed Volunteer Fire Department.
Let's get a PO box. We'll put it on our website, and people can start sending us patches and information about their departments. Let's do it.
All right,
It'll be wild. It'll be a lot of fun.
we'll set it up.
I'm sure there's some really cool patches out there,
Oh, absolutely.
especially
Or even like
Rachel, Nevada.
the shirts. What one of the most famous firehouse T-shirts out there? Intercourse Fire Department.
Oh, there's some
Pennsylvania.
Wild names.
Oh, it's
when
fantastic.
you travel this country into different areas, and, it depends on the states, and but you go to some place and like you see the name of businesses and stuff, and you'd be like, shit, yeah, you say that would never fly in New York.
There's a random town in, I want to say like New Mexico or something like that, but the name of the town is like a sentence. It's like it's something very odd.
Listen, there's a lot of.
I think there's another place called Hell is an actual town, but yeah, I'm
wild
gonna look
stuff
that
out
up
there.
and start. All right, now I got another idea. So
Getting a lot of ideas for this show.
Oh yeah,
We're getting a P.O. box.
that wraps it up. 51
Episode 51 out.
piss clock out.